Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom again. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, John, Hans, and we have people are heroes, and wish them all Shabbat Shalom. We're going to continue on page 120. I'm going to ask Ruth Roper to help us with the lighting of Shabbat candles. So we're having a little bit of streaming issues in and out. So we apologize for those of you at home if we're coming and going. Hopefully it will fix itself, and if not,
HaKadosh Baruch Hu Bochem L'Shalom Malachei HaShalom Malachei HaShalom Malachei Elyon Malkei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu HaKadosh Baruch Hu Baruch Hu L'Shalom Malkei HaShalom Malkei HaShalom Malkei Elyon Mi Melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu HaKadosh Baruch Hu Tzedkim L'Shalom Malakei HaShalom Malakei HaShalom Malakei Elyon Mi Melech Malkei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu HaKadosh Baruch Hu And as we continue to prepare for Shabbat, I'm going to throw you off and ask you to turn to page 44. And then we're going to jump right back into our service. Because on this first Shabbat of the new year, when everybody is focusing on new vows and new plans and all kinds of new diets, or quitting smoking or skipping alcohol or being kind to strangers with vows that we hope will last more than a week, I want to point out a prayer for you. In the morning service, we go through a series of steps, and I've talked about some of them before. Step number 1 is we give thanks for our bodies, our valves, our breathing, God who keeps things open and closed. So Jews who say a prayer every morning, or who pray every morning with the traditional prayer book, or on Shabbat, begin right out of the gate with a prayer for our bodies working, that on the days when we might feel fine and be less aware, we begin with a prayer for our bodies, the gratitude we have for feeling good. And then the very next prayer is a prayer for our spirit, our soul, our essence. So we give thanks for our bodies, we give thanks for our groundedness, our godliness. And then with heart and soul connected, the next prayer a couple of pages later, the next prayer that we come to comes from the Talmud. The first part comes from Peah, and it's a prayer about the things that give us a reward and meaning. New vows, if you will. There's actually 2 prayers, several prayers. One prayer is, here are the things that will bring us reward in the world to come. However we translate it, and then in Judaism it's kept very vague, ha'olam haba, right? The world to come. But then we have the second passage in Peah that says, here are the things that also bring us reward now, limitless reward now, that bring our lives meaning. I share them with you because they are, in a sense, New Year's vows, except they are, rather than vows we say once on January 1, they're vows the Jews say every day. We say, thank you for my body, thank you for my soul, and now how are I going to put those to work? So we look to page 44, and it may be as we read them that you say to yourselves, oh, I'm going to reflect on one of these or two of these, and they're going to be part of my life in the weeks, the days, the years to come. And remember, if it's hard to fulfill a vow, well, we can say these every morning as a reminder. So please read with me on page 44, New Vows for the New Year.
Rabbi, we may not all have that same page. If you're in the slim book, there is no page 44. That's the 44.
Oh, so I pulled out a prayer book. There must be a 44 in brackets, no?
There is. Are you doing 40? No.
Oh, look at that. Okay, let me clarify. Right? The 1 week I didn't...
Because it's a big book.
So that would be page... I'm so sorry. Hang on one moment. If you are using the thicker prayer book, then the prayer I am referring to you is on page... That makes no sense. Here we go. What am I looking at? What are you looking at? Okay. If you are using John's prayer book, thank you, my good friend. No, then if we are using John's prayer book, then I am referring to page, for anyone who's saying the rabbi's lost his mind, which could be, then I am referring to a prayer on page 206.
In the brackets.
In brackets. Wow, we've lost the congregation. But thank you, John, okay? So, and then after that, let's make sure that I'm not messing you up after that. How interesting. Then we'll be back on game plan, okay? That's where we are for the moment. If you don't have a page 44, you are not incomplete. You just have a different prayer book. Let's read together on whatever page you're on. These are things that are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruit of the world, while the principle remains in the world to come. They are honoring one's father and mother, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study, morning and evening, dealing graciously with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer, making peace among people, but the study of Torah encompasses them all. So take a moment and think about that. Deeds of compassion, honoring parents, studying actively, visiting the sick, celebrating, they say providing, but also being a part of wedding celebrations, accompanying the dead for burial, which is also bringing comfort to those who are in mourning, making peace among people, va'avat shalom bein adam l'chavero. What will our New Year's vows be as we go into the new year? And now we will turn to page 144, and I'm pretty sure everybody has that, although I shouldn't speak too soon, as we turn to the Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי בכל בית ישראל. בעגלה בעגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם עולם מימיה. יתברך יתברך וישתבח Viet Pa'ar, Viet Roman, Viet Nase, Viet Adar, Viet Ale, Viet Alal, Shemed Kudesha Brihu, Leal Min Kol Birchata, Veshirata, Tushbechata, Venechemata, Damiran Mealma, Vaimaru. Amen.
Entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibilities of ascent all the time, even at unlikely times and through unlikely places. There is no place on earth without the presence. We rise on the next page for the Baruch.
Harechu et Adonai Amvorach Baruch Adonai Amvorach Leolam Vaed.
Please remain standing through Shema. We join together on 148. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time, changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness, darkness from light, transforming day into night, distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. Page 150.
Ahavat olam bid Yisrael Amcha Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shachbeinu U'chumenu nasiak b'chuchecha V'nizmak b'divrei Toratecha U'v'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu Vahem negei yoman ve'layla, negei yoman ve'layla, ve'ahavatcha al tasir, mimenu le'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev amo Israel, Ohev amo Israel. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Baruch Shem Kavod Malachuto Le'olam Va'ed. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod, Shem Kavod, Malchuto Leolam, Leolam Vaed. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all of thy might. And all these words which I command you on this day shall be in your heart, shall be in your heart, and you shall love them. Teach them diligently unto thy children, and thou shalt speak of them when they sittest in thy house, and when thou walkest by the way, and risest up, and when thou liest down, and when thou liest down, and thou shalt bind them as a sign upon thy hand, and they shall be for frontlets between thine eyes, and thou shalt write them on the doorposts of thy house, and upon thy gates, and upon thy gates, that you may remember and do all of my commandments, and be holy unto your God, unto your God, unto your God.
Please be seated as we turn to page 155. And we read together, love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot. Wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt. But there is a better place, a promised land. Page 158.
Mi chamnocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha נהדר בקודש, נור התהילות אוסף אלי, נור התהילות אוסף אלי. מלכותך ראו בניך בוקי הים לפני משה ומרים, זה לי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom va'amidenu shomrinu l'chaim. Page 160, we read together. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace, and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and to peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. On the next page, we join together.
ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. מקדשי שבי שבת, אמנם יסבעו ויתענגו מטובך שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. ובשביעי רצית בו וקידשת שבת. חמדת ימים אותו קראת שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. זכר למעשה וראשית שבת. זכר למעשה וראשית שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת.
Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. We exhale. We create space for this next prayer. Oh God, open our hearts, open our minds. Shut out the noise of the week, but open us up to the noise that comes from being aware and listening, the noise of Shabbat. We rise, we face the ark, we join together.
Yalalai, lai, lai, 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 yalalai, lai, lai. Adonai, sefet aif tiftach, ufi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise, so I may declare your praise. Yadalai, lai, lai, 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 yadalai, lai, lai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzhak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagibor v'Anorah El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vechonei Hachol, Vetzocher Chazdi Avot V'Imahot, U'mivinu Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Oseh Moshiach Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mekayeh Hakol atah Rav Lehoshia. Mechachel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayeh Hakol Berachamim Rabim, Zomech Noflim Verofei Cholim, U'Ma'atir Asorim, U'Mkayem Emunato Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Be'al Geburot, U'Midom Elach, Melech Memit U'Mchayeh, U'Matzmiach Yeshua, V'Ne'eman atah L'chayot HaKol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol, atah Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh, V'Kadoshim B'Chol Yom Yeluch HaSelah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Bottom of page 172, we read together, Our God and God of our ancestors, be pleased with our rest. Sanctify us with your mitzvot, and grant us a share in your Torah. Satisfy us with your goodness, your salvation. Purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Adonai our God, grant us your heritage, your holy Sabbath, that Israel, who sanctifies your name, may rest on it. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. We take some time for silent prayer, standing or seated, however you wish, and we join together in a couple of moments.
Ruach Elohim, may God's Spirit be with you. Ruach Elohim, keep you safe from harm. May the love of God be your shelter from every storm. Yevarecha Adonai, vayishmerecha, Yair Adonai, panav elecha vikunecha, Yis Adonai, panav elecha, vayasim lecha shalom. Ruach Elohim, may God bless you and keep you, bring you to the light and safe from harm. May the love of friends be your shelter from every storm. Yevarecha Adonai, Yishmerecha, Yair Adonai, panav elecha vikunecha, Yis Adonai, panav elecha, vayasem lecha shalom. Ruach Elohim, may God's Spirit be with you, bring you to the light and loving arms. Together we will be a shelter from every storm.
We turn to page 364. There we find some of the prayers of Seder Kriyat Torah Shabbat. As we prepare to return the Torah to the Ark, we call up Vicky Abrams, Yalamit Bat Yitzchak Umazel, who will be reading from the Torah. We'll call her up again right before the Aliyah, but we're going to call her to start walking. It takes a couple of minutes. We're going to ask the congregation to please rise. For those who would like to follow along at home, we're going to be reading from Bo. That's Exodus chapter 13. So you can run and get your Torah commentary if you're at home as we take the Torah from the Ark.
Ki mitzion teze Torah, ki mitzion teze Torah, Odavar Adonai mirushalayim, Susharim rashechem, Usubichei olam v'yavod melech hakavod, mihutze melech hakavod, Adonai tzvaot, melech hakavod,
from Sinai until now.
Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah, Le'amno Israel, B'kidushato, Shema Israel. Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Ke'adol Gadlu Adonai iti, unaroma shemo yachda. Lecha Adonai agedula v'agavula v'aftideret v'chanetzak v'chaod. Kichol bashamayim u'varetz, kichol bashamayim u'varetz. Lecha Adonai hamelacha b'amid nazeh lekol rosh.
Please be seated. And as we prepare to read from the Torah, Exodus 13, again, Ta'amod likro et Torah, Yalamit bat Yitzchak umazo likro et Torah, and we will join together with her. The blessing is on, flipping a couple pages, 368. Let's all join together on this Shabbat of the New Year.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamevorach le'olam
Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe lemor. Kadesh li chol bechor. Petar kol rechem bivnei Yisrael. Ba'adam u'ba'behema lihu. Vayomer Moshe el ha'am. Zachor et ha'am hazeh asher yetzatem mimitzrayim mibeit avadim. Ki behozek yad hotzi Adonai etchem mizeh velo yeyachel chametz. Hayom atem yotzim bechodesh ha'aviv v'hayachi yaviacha Adonai el eretz hakenaani v'hahiti v'ha'emori Vehahivi vehaivusi, asher nishba la'avotenu lahatet lach, eretz zavat alav udvash, ve'avadeta et ha'avodah hazot b'chodesh hazeh. Shivat yamim tochal matzot uvayom hashvi'i hag l'Adonai. Matzot yeyachel et shivat hayamim, Velo yera elecha chametz, velo yera elecha shor bechol gevulecha. Vehigata levincha ba'el mahu lemor, ba'avor ze asa Adonai li betzeti mimitzrayim. V'chaya lecha leot al yadecha uzikaron beinecha leman tihye Torah Adonai beficha ki beyad hazaka hotziacha Adonai mimitzrayim v'shamarta et hahukah hazot lemoada miyamim yamima.
Join in. Wonderful. We join in the blessing afterwards. Baruch
atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
And I had something to say, but then I forgot it. Oh, if you're wondering what did she just read, we're going to find out in a moment in a Devar Torah, but the short version, because I don't want to take Dr. Ross's material, is that this is right after the last of the 10 plagues. It is the beginning of the first Passover observance, as well as the setting aside of the consecration of the firstborn. That's all I'm going to say because I don't actually know what he's saying in his Devar Torah, and I don't want to take his material. So, we are going to stand for a moment as we dress the Torah. No, wait, got to get myself out of order. The next thing we're doing is the Mishaberach. Got to get my orders correct. By Yasher Koch, thank you so much, Vicki. What a pleasure. And this is an invitation. Actually, don't stand yet. I'm a little confused. We switched the order of one thing, so Dr. Ross come up, so I'm confusing people, but it's good exercise. Before we do, we turn to our prayer for healing with the Torah out, prayer for all those in need at this time, and not only from, of course, this terrible virus, but all kinds of illnesses. We offer our prayers of healing for Len Anthony, Robert Bogan, Fred Boyd, Gordon Brody, Maria Schoen, Karen Delavin, Kevin Delavin, Brittany Elaine Drake, Charlotte Fiwis, Harry Phillip, Mike Fox, Clark Freeby, Sherry Goldstein, Michelle Hartman, Stacy Lewis, Christopher Long, Terry Mann, Sophie Aubry, Jody Platt, Katrina Joy Rogers, Bob Schmitz, Lee Schultz, Renee Stanton, Neil Tannenhouse, Sarah Tova, William Westerman, Ann Westerman, Judith Zimmerman, Leonard Furstenfeld, Dan Gestring, Daryl Adams, Corrine Jacobson, Deborah Lavelle, Judy Kotler Goldberg, Lori Brigman, Amy Stein, Edie Yentis, Jerry Skybell, Sandra Price, and any other names you might wish to add at this time. Yes, Ethan. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Over you. Okay.
Cecilia Solomon, Esther Elmendorf, and Danielle and Fortune as well.
Yes. Mishaberach, may the one who brings healing and strength bring these to us, to their caregivers, to all who work toward healing.
Page 371 in the middle.
Mishaberach avotenu mekor habracha limotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mekor habracha imotenu. Als those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
And now we rise to dress the Torah.
V'tzot ha'Torah shesam Moshe lifnei b'nei Yisrael napi Adonai b'yad Moshe.
Here, without even a formal introduction, Dr. Ross,
no introduction
share
needed.
some Torah with us. Please be seated.
Zachor, remember or remain. The word Zachor is on my lapel pin. Remember the 6 million. And we just heard the word chanted beautifully by Miss Abrams. Thank you, beautiful. That was in verse 3 of chapter 13. And Moses said to the people, Zachor, remember this day on which you went out from Egypt, from the house of slaves, for by the strength of hand of the Lord brought you out from here, and leavened stuff shall not be eaten. Zachor. The verb in Hebrew suggests both the ritual act of commemoration, the Passover Seder, and the cognitive sense of remembering. But exactly what are we supposed to remember and celebrate? This parsha includes the last 3 of the 10 plagues. Are we to remember and teach our children, I'm glad they took the little one out, that being Jewish means swarms of locusts eating every crop in sight, leaving other people hungry and starving? Are we to be joyful when we remember that darkness covered the earth for 3 days? And how about that plague number 10? The death of innocent women and men, people not implicated in Pharaoh's cruelties, even blameless babies and little children, and even their animals. Earlier in this parsha, the Torah reads, "There was a loud cry in Egypt, for there was no house, no home, where there was not someone dead." Is death and destruction what we're supposed to, Zachor, remember? So while the discomfort of that question sinks in, let me digress for a moment. I stand here today as a bit of an experiment. Have you ever considered researching and delivering a Devar, Torah? I know there are at least some people there that can. There are congregations within our movement, congregations where lots of Jewish learning takes place, where occasionally, intermittently, members of the congregation present their thoughts on the week's parsha. So Rabbi and Russ asked me to assume, on an interim basis, chair of the Ritual and Worship Committee. So we've kicked around a lot of ideas among ourselves, and in the coming secular year, we'll involve the Ritual Committee in those discussions. But I ask, what are your thoughts? What do you feel would make your Shabbat experience at Beth-El more spiritual, meaningful, relevant to your life today, and maybe even vibrant or joyous? And if you'd like to present a Devar, Rabbi and I would be glad to help. There are so many different things in every parsha to talk about. A whole Devar can center on a single word, and nothing could be more typical of Jewish scholarship. And this week, if you're more scientifically oriented, the question of whether the stories of the plagues can be linked to natural events has long intrigued scholars. Wouldn't that make a fascinating talk? Locust tragedies still occur in Africa, and the darkness of the 9th plague has been linked to the massive volcanic eruption and destruction of the island of Santorini in the Mediterranean. And the death of the firstborn, Google it. So back to the question that's troubled the ancients who struggled with it just as we do today. What are we to remember? What thoughts are we to take with us when we leave this building? What precious bit of wisdom did our sages bequeath to us in Parsha Bo? There's a midrash in Shemot Rabbah, not a part of the Torah. It's a equally ancient commentary on the book of Exodus that teaches that both the firstborn sons and firstborn daughters were equally affected by the 10th plague. And all but one firstborn in Egypt died that night. Who was spared? Someone in Pharaoh's family, would you believe? Pharaoh's daughter, Bitja, the daughter who rescued Moses from the Nile. Now, Moses knew the plague was coming, and he knew that Bitja was a firstborn. The Midrash relates that Moses spent the night praying on her behalf. It is taught that some of the verses in Proverbs 13, you know the words, "A woman of valor who can find, her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband trusts her, and no prize does he lack," that those are the words that Moses prayed that night. And why was Bitja spared? Not simply because she saved Moses, but because in doing so, she saved the entire Jewish people. It's a powerful statement about how one person can make a difference. One simple or inauspicious act of kindness can have impact far beyond the person it was intended for. Pharaoh's daughter must have known that any baby in the Nile would be an Israelite, but she chose not to leave him there to die. The night of the 10th plague, Moses was not the only one attempting to intercede on behalf of Egyptians. The Midrash also teaches that fearful Egyptian families brought their firstborn children to Israelite homes, asking for sanctuary. The effort was not successful. Even Egyptians hidden in Israelite homes perished. But the fact that the Israelites hid them teaches that we cannot turn away from others in distress. One of the things that makes us Jews is our willingness to reach out and help. And Torah teaches us that we are holy when we take care of, as Torah puts it, the stranger, the widow, and the orphan. So what is the takeaway of Parsha Bo? What are we to zachar, or zachor, remember? One thing to remember is the actions of Bitya, Pharaoh's daughter. And remember that a simple act of kindness by you or me or of an almost nameless person can have profound consequences, can result in more good than can at first be imagined, and that sometimes even little acts of kindness can cascade through time and through generations and can make all the difference in the world. Ken Yehi Ratzon. May that be God's will. Yes, sir.
As he said, if you're wondering, and he is a past president, but if you're wondering who does he know, to come up and give a Devar Torah, me, just like you. So if you'd like to read or bring some Torah teaching here, and we have people who'd be happy to help you prepare and do that, know that that's an invitation into you at home. And so we prepare to return the Torah to the Ark, 374. I ask the congregation to please rise.
הודה לארץ ושמיים, וירם גרן לעמו, להצילה בפני ישראל עם קרובו. הללויה, 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 הללויה. It's Chaim Lamatzkim Ba V'tomechei HaMeushar Darcheina Darcheinom V'ntivotei Hashem
We remain standing as we turn to page 586.
לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצון, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו קיים בגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשקמים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד. היום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני
We take now time for memory and our prayer, O God. Our prayer is to know that you are with us. Now, when doubt trembles us, as memory makes us recollect, as pain clouds the mind, we pray that you are there with us for courage, insight, and endurance, that as one community we are closer to one another and closer to you as we gather at this time to remember those we have lost. And so on this Shabbat, we note the yahrzeits, the anniversaries of their death, as we mentioned, first in this 30-day period of mourning known as Shloshim, Gary Mann, Paul Saperstein, Dr. Paul Saperstein, and Robert Diamond. In addition, we mention for memory the one-year anniversary of those who died defending the Capitol, gave their lives for our country. And we mention the yahrzeits, the anniversaries of their deaths, and it is a custom for those who are comfortable, if you wish, to rise as you note the name of one you are remembering. We mention Mark Altshuler, Moshe ben Avraham, Herman Begensky, Frida Steinberg, Berlin, Kevin Lawrence, Berlin, Nathan Brownold, Austin Sampson Carter, Sarah Friedman, Joe Harris, Helen Jacobs, Clara Klein, Molly Solomon Klein, Marion Letterman, Herman Nathan Levy, Rachel Levy, Michael Newman, Phyllis Orlo, Tobias Orich, Francis Plotsky, Richard Pritchard, Sidney Ramey, Dorothy Roper, Rebecca Sandberger, Hannah Weber Sandler, Hyman Sankary, Major M. Schoenbrunn, Dorothy Schwartz, Leba Weinshanker Silver, Hannah Simon, Ray Simon, Gertrude F. Sloter, Oscar J. Steinberg, Andrea Tomlinson, Ida Whale, Anita Loeb Weiner, Judith Solomon. If there are other names to remember, you can mention them if you are here as a guest. We all rise to offer strength to all those who are in mourning as we turn to page 598 for the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgada shemei Rabba, bi'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chaye echon v'yom echon, v'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agalal v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevarach, le'olam ul'olmei al-maya,
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmeid kudsha brichu Leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata damiram bi'almal v'imru amen Yehi shlama rabba min shemai v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha. May their memories be for blessing. And we say amen, as we are seated. A quick thank you to Carl Rosenblum, who is streaming our service tonight. Thank him for helping us all to see this service wherever we are. Try not to have too many announcements, but I've got to put in a quick announcement that we are showing as part of our Beth-El every other month film festival. Right, there's two versions. The Spy, The Catcher Who Was a Spy. There's two versions. One is not the documentary. I don't want to give you the wrong title. The documentary by Aviva Kempner, which we'll be showing here Sunday night at 6 p.m. We have corn dogs, Cracker Jacks, popcorn. Thank you, Seymour Robert. What do all those treats have in common? They are all individual servings and sealed, so you can come and eat or not eat and join us. I have to mention this because this movie cannot be seen streaming right now, I guess, unless you have an illegal copy. So if you want to see this movie in Fort Worth, the Beth-El Film Festival has it, 6 o'clock on Sunday night. We turn to our closing song, which can be found on page 642. On these three things the world stands. Torah, Avodah, Gimilut Chasadim, a nice message and reminder for the new year.
Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, ha'olam, amen. Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, שלושה דברים העולם עומד על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים שלושה דברים, שלושה דברים, שלושה דברים העולם עומד.
Page
Thank you.
123, as we join in Kiddush and then Motzi. First, one of our prayers is one day we will be running around the synagogue with the Torah, and who knows, all those things. We wanted to share that with you tonight. And also, if you're a visitor, please do say hello, not only to me, but there are a lot of people here who would love to say hello to you, Dr. Michael Ross, and Russ Schultz, and Howard Bellett, and me, and John. So do, if you're visiting, come and say hello. Don't leave as you grab your challah. Thank you, Linda Hoffman, and run out the door. Say at least Shabbat Shalom, even from a safe distance. We join on 123, the blessing over wine and Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kosho b'ahavat uvratzon hinkilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit כי הוא יום תחילה למקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנקרתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen. L'chaim.
Chaim, and I didn't make you rise for the Kiddush. There's lots of debates over when to rise, rabbis debate, but rise for the Motzi. Everybody look who's sitting tonight as we join together in the Motzi and kind of wave Shabbat Shalom, and here we go, and we want to join together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.